right, lastly, I want to talk about another spiritual belief that can aggravate subtle quality, which is emphasizing the viewpoint that all is mystery, that all is unknowable, that truth is unknowable, can aggravate subtle guna. So emphasizing that objective truths don't exist can aggravate subtle guna. Or another version of this is a person who believes that essential truths exist, but no one knows what those truths are for sure. That creates a lot of uncertainty and confusion. There are some things that we can know are true, and some things that are good for us, and some things that will harm us. Or people who say that morality is merely a construct. That can be also express this idea that there's a mystery around morality. Cultural relativism, in general, can undermine a person's convictions. So, this photo was for a person who is more in their mind. And here we see a person who is confused by cultural relativism. There's some people on the left that believe a certain way, some people on the right believe a different way. Which is right? It's hard to figure that out. And so cultural relativism can really undermine conviction and confidence and make a person easily influenced. It can aggravate subtle quality. So this idea that everyone gets to decide what truth is for themselves is a kind of non-committal attitude, or a very uncertain attitude. There's some people who think that all is mystery subscribe to a spiritual life of mysticism, right? And what is mysticism? Mysticism is this idea that we can become one with God or the Absolute through some kind of ecstasy or altered state of consciousness. Mysticism is anything that suggests that one should free oneself from matter and receive direct illumination from God through a mystical, ecstatic, or a prophetic state, right? And that kind of idea is very aggravating to subtle quality. So people who are going to bliss out, right? Who have an excessive desire to stay in the state of samadhi. And you see that there are some spiritual practices that are constantly emphasizing this heightened state of consciousness, right? That they're always looking for a heightened experience. They're looking for a spiritual high, or even an actual high using drugs. That they're always wanting to be in a continual state of inspiration. And that is a very subtle experience. Such individuals may seek the exotic, or something that's always amazing, or a mesmerizing experience. You see mesmerizing experiences sometimes when you go to kirtan. So if a person's kind of always wanting to be in that kirtan state, then that could be aggravating to subtle quality. So what's the problem of that? The need to be in a continual heightened state of awareness often comes from a rejection of the mundane, a rejection of the day-to-day, and perhaps even a despair that the world or the local town we live in isn't enough for us. That the local town is somehow flawed by design. Or sometimes it can come from pride, that I am destined for something greater than this local town, and so I need to search out the amazing or the inspirational. So this viewpoint kind of casts doubt on the goodness and beauty of creation itself, right? That like we have our little corner of the world that we live in, and it is beautiful and wonderful. So the antidote to mysticism is appreciating the mundane. It's restoring hope in the very simple acts of nurture and care for other people, and that recognizing God's presence is everywhere, including here and now. So those are, I've discussed in this talk a few different spiritual practices that can aggravate subtle quality that you should be cautious with if you have a client who has excess subtle, or if you have excess subtle yourself. And then you would want to reduce some of those practices, or adopt practices that are a little bit more embodied and a little less subtle.